Hi everyone. Today we will discuss state as a subject of international law. State is a central in international law and main subject of international law. International treaties, rules, regulations are drafted and enacted, codified by states themselves and are applicable on the states itself because states are independent bodies. They can enter into relation with other subjects and other states. So before delving into the definition and elements of state, we need to go for other subjects of international law. A subject of international law is defined as an entity capable of possession of international rights and duties and having capacity to protect its rights by bringing international claims. So, being an international legal personality, a state is endowed with international rights and duties, and like they can enter into relation with other states, they can conclude treaties, can conclude agreements with other states, and if there is a violation of any treaty, then they can sought international remedies through international courts and tribunals. So far as international law subjects are concerned, traditionally only the sovereign states were considered as a subject of international law because they were considered sovereign only, and states were allowed only to enter into treaties with the other states. And basically, states were the main subjects to deal with the other states. But in 19th century, scenario changed. Then states started establishing intergovernmental organizations. So these intergovernmental organizations were basically uh, were working for the greatest and effective enforcement of international treaties and international relations. But in 1945, United Nations organization came into being, and development of international human rights law also started simultaneously. In 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was signed, and then individual also became a subject of international law. So currently, individual is also a subject of international law who is endowed with some international rights and duties. But in this lecture, we will cover state as a subject and the criteria and definition of a state. Definition of a state. There are various definitions given by various thinkers. So here we are going to cover three major definitions. According to Salmond, a state is a community of people which has been established for some objectives such as internal order and external security. So Salmond mainly emphasizing that state is a community of people, that is a gathering of people or a group of people who have been gathered for some basic objectives. So these objectives are internal order, protection of internal order, like maintaining peace in the state and regulating behavior of the people, like their dealings with each other, with dealing with the state itself, and also protecting from external wars, aggression, etc. According to Lawrence, a state is a society which is politically organized and its members are bound with each other by being under some central authority, and most of the people automatically follow the rules of the central authority. According to Oppenheim, the existence of a state is possible only when people of a state have settled under highest government authority and habitually follow its orders. So if we will look into these two definitions of Lawrence and Oppenheim, these are somewhat similar because in these state as basically central authority which is going to regulate the behavior of people, and they are controlled by the political authority. They are subject to follow the rules and regulations, and they cannot go against the rules and regulation of the state. and they are habitual of following these rules without any hesitation. So far as criteria of statehood is concerned, that has been mentioned in Article 1, Paragraph 1 of Montevideo Convention on Rights and Duties of States, 1933. So there are four elements of a sovereign state which are very essential. So if we will look into the Montevideo Convention on Rights and Duties of States, was signed in Uruguay on 26 December 1933, when the International Conference of American States were taking place. So that this entered into force on 26th of December 1934. Basically, this Montevideo Convention codified a declarative theory of statehood or recognition as a part of international law. So far as recognition of a state is concerned, we will cover in the next lecture. There are four elements that is permanent population, a defined territory, a government, capacity to enter into relation with other states, that is independence and sovereign. So these four essential elements constitute a sovereign state. A permanent population. The very first element of a state is permanent population, that is referred to as stable community. Nomads cannot be considered as a part of state because they don't stay at one particular territory. So far as numbers of people is concerned, that is not mentioned. It is not required that there should be some number in lakhs. When Norway became independent, it has just 6,500 members. And the United Nations Special Committee of 20 has examined the issue of size or population of colonial territories and colonial self-domination. So if we will look into Pitcairn, which is a community recognized as an international state, that is with just 90 inhabitants, occupying an area of 5 square kilometers. Second element is a fixed territory. Defined territory is required for the formation of a state. So it is not required a certain area is required for like this square kilometer area is required. So there may be that territory must be fixed and the state must be controlling that very area with effectiveness. There may be ongoing territorial disputes as well, which doesn't make any difference in the concept of territory. Like when Israel became member of the United Nations on 11th May 1949, then there was conflict ongoing with other states, and it doesn't make any difference to the United Nations to consider it as its member. So if we will look into the area, there are very large states like Russia and there are very small states like Monaco. Monaco occupies only 1.5 square kilometer. And for this, the concept of territorial sovereignty is key to statehood. And the importance of territorial sovereignty has been considered in the case of Island of Mama's case in 1928. So where Max Huber said sovereignty in relation to a position of the surface of the globe is the legal condition necessary. So it is not required that there will be this much area. So any area is possible. Third element of the state is a government. The government must be effective, that government must be independent from the external control. So the government is required for political society to function effectively. And it must be able to exercise power in its state, like it must be free from other states' pressure or coercion, and must be able to enact and draft its laws, implement according to its own will. And government is not required for the recognition of an independent country. So Brownlee said, the existence of effective government with centralized administrative and legislative organs is the best evidence of a stable political community. Then the fourth and the most important element that is very significant in international law and for the independence of a state, that is independent sovereignty. Sovereignty means supreme and final legal authority above and beyond which no legal powers exist. So sovereignty is required even for the other elements. If a state is not sovereign, then possessing other three elements like population, territory, and government are redundant. So sovereignty may be internal, that is, a state is supreme in its internal matters like enacting laws, implementing laws, etc. And external sovereignty, that state is independent and free from foreign control. Like there should not be any kind of control by other states or any other organ is going to exercise control on that very state. So in the island of Bahamas arbitration case, that is of Netherlands versus the United States, 1928, the court stated sovereignty signifies independence, and independence is the right to exercise its full power to the exclusion of any other state and the functions of the state. So far as the state is concerned, it's very much essential for the well functioning of a state. That state must be able to possess all these criterias. And most important thing, if state is con containing all these elements, then states can declare themselves as an independent entity. Doesn't they don't need actually any kind of recognition from the other states. So in the next lecture, we will discuss recognition of the state. Thank you.